And then it takes us back to the start there, to where we began, and we can then present something else or have a look at the graphs and reports.
And again, this would all be saved, so you can actually have a way of saving all of this information to use at another time.
That's right, yeah. So because we selected record assessment when we went into this activity, it's now saved every response that the handset has just given me, and it's put it away in the database, and I can now go in and have a look at that as a report or a chart, and I can export all that information in whichever way I choose. It's up to me. There's lots of different ways that I can do that.
So now, John, we've got all of our results. What can we do with those?
We can display those in all sorts of different ways, and we're going to go down to another option here. We were in Resources tab, and we're now going to go down to Charts. So we're going to go to Charts first. Now obviously we've got to tell it what information we want it to chart for us, so we're going to select Bar Chart from the top, and we're going to have the class displayed. So we're going to choose the class that we've just presented to. We're going to choose the teacher, and we're going to choose the activity there, and then I click the button Show Chart.
It's that simple.
It is, yes. Just make the choices, and there we are. There's our chart. So we can see we actually were using 8 handsets in this instance, but obviously if we had a class of 32, we'd just have 32 different charts there. So
again, you've got the students all highlighted.
Yeah.
Do you have to have that? Does it come as one frame, or can you sort of use it in a different way?
No, we've got an option here to hide that legend. So again, if I want everybody to be anonymous, because you can see it's just a number on there at the moment, then we can just have an overall look at the class, and we can see what the spread of marks is. If I want to know what each individual person scored using the chart, then I can bring on the legend, and we can see that information. It's just color coded on the right hand side. And if I wanted to at this point as well, I could go up to the option at the top, and I could hit the print option, and we could print that out just as it is there. So I've always got that option to print whenever I want to. Now that was using the bar chart, as you can see. If I go back now and choose a pie chart, we're going to use the same information but just show a different chart. So there's the same information displayed in a different way, and again we've got the hide legend, so if we wanted to we can hide that, just have the pie chart in the middle and then display it again like so. And again we can go up to print and print that out if that's what we want to do.
And do these come with the Comm package?
Yes, this is all part of the Comm software. It's all integrated in, so we don't have to load or add anything else in. It's all part of it. So those are the first two things we can do. We can display the charts, then we can display the reports. So if we click on the Reports tab, again it's waiting for us to tell it what it wants. So we've got 4 different ways of reporting. There we go, those up there: class score, class answer, student report, question summary report. If we go to class score report first of all, and again, which class, which teacher, and which test do we report on? So, whoops, go back and select the right one. There we go. And then ask it to generate a report on that. So what it's telling us now is those are the 8 people in the class. The total marks possible was 26, and you can see what each person scored and their mark as a percentage as well.
And a great way of maintaining and keeping all the data that you need and all the results that you need.
Now we've got a bar at the top here now, of course, and we can do lots of things with this data. So if we want to export that document now, as you can see it says export there, drop that down. Those are all the different ways that I can now export this particular piece of information or data. And one of the ways we can do it is through HTML on there. So if I click the HTML button and just click on OK there, it now asks me to save that in HTML format. So I can save that in whichever way I want to, or directly import it into something else. So for instance, if I've got a virtual learning environment in my school and I'm wanting to take this data and just post it straight up on that virtual learning environment, it'll export this in the right format for me to be able to do that.
Talk me through virtual learning environment.
That is like a tool which a school has where it's a collection of resources, digital resources that students can access. It also gives access for, say, parents to look at timetables, look at reports, look at progress on their pupils, and it gives access for teachers to be able to access their own timetable, for instance, and assessments and mark books and things like this. So it's a mechanism by which teachers, students, parents can access information from the school. But they're very popular in schools these days, and they're growing rapidly, and all this kind of information will be posted up on there and made immediately available within the school to whoever needs to see it. It could be the assessment coordinator, for instance, wants this, or the head of year, or the deputy head, or whoever is in charge of reporting might want this information, because this might be a very important test that we've just run at the end of a term, for instance.
So it's making really all this kind of information a lot more open, and accessible
Yes,
to
indeed.
everybody who's
Yeah,
involved.
that's right. I mean, another way we can export it is directly to email it. So we can go into here and it says, right, we're going to export this as a PDF, or we can email it straight away. We can drop that menu down and we can say, right, I want to email this out. In what format do you want to email it out? So we've got lots of different formats. Again, it can go straight off in email format. So I don't even have to worry about opening up my Outlook Express and attaching it to a document and everything else.
It can just go out.
Sends
Oh,
it
wow.
straight out for me if I wanted to do that. And then I can adjust this on the page. I can adjust the margins, the layout, the colour and everything else if I wish to. And again, I've got the option to print it if that's what I want to be able to do from the top there.
Again, it's a very well used, well recognisable format.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and remember that's just one, so we can now look at the class answer report, for instance, and again generate the report. So you can see this is giving us different information now. So we can see now for handset ID on here, here's all the different questions, and this is the responses that that person gave to me, and that's the time that they took, and then it's got their score up at the top there.
Again, being able to highlight student strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. So I can look through as a teacher and I can see, right, that person was good at this but not so good at that. That's where I need to focus in my next lesson. So again, useful for me to analyse that and see where the strengths and weaknesses were. Then I can look at student report. So I can look at a student here, generate the report on that. Need to select, there we go. So what I'm seeing now is all the quizzes or all the activities that have been run, and it's showing me, you can see the date that I ran the activity and what the activity was called and what the total marks were and the scores and everything else and percentages. And if I'd set up the grade scales, it would be giving me a grade scale in that column as well. So I've got an overall picture, maybe this is done over a half term, of all the activities that I've done over the half term with this particular person and what their scores were. Hopefully, of course, I might be seeing an improvement here as I went through and using this during the lessons. And then if I go to question summary report, and again generate the report on that. So we can see here question 1, that was the question that I asked, so all the text is displayed there, and it's telling me what percentage of people said true, what percentage of people said false, and it gives me a total there as well. So again, it's giving me feedback as a teacher.
I was going to say, because all the years that you were a teacher, I suppose sometimes it's good to see how your questions and how you're actually preparing your work is being received by the students and the pupils, and this gives you a way of seeing how you're doing.
Yes, exactly. It's, self-assessment is very important. Obviously, you should be looking and trying to improve what we're doing and evaluating what we're doing all the time. I mean, I can remember on a weekly basis doing my mental maths tests with my children with a pencil and paper. I wouldn't be doing it now though, I'd be using these of course. A lot easier and quicker for me to do it that way, and I'd be recording all the data, and I could do a much more detailed analysis on it than I could in those days. So those are all our different reports and the different ways that we can export those and print them off and do whatever we want with them.